Well, this is bad. I think, I hope I just put my car into limp mode, and I hope I can just restart it. It is a beautiful day out there, and by the end of this video, I will have making turbo flutter sounds. I know I've been saying this often. This will happen this time, and I promise it. Well, I don't know. My word doesn't mean anything at this point. Anyway, what I'm doing right now is I'm making a bass tune. This bass tune will expand the parameters into the engine load that is higher than 100%, which is going to be boost level. However, I do want to load this tune into the car and have it running even with wastegates tied up to check if there's any things that I've done here that will affect it, how it drives, which they shouldn't, because it only should be happening once the car is in boost. So the parameters I'm editing here are, first of all, we have airflow, and in general tab there is the curve for the airflow sensor, because the housing is different, but it's actually mostly left the same. I was just messing with it, but I'll decide to leave it the stock and just tune it as I drive. Method adaptation disabled. By my understanding, what this is doing is converting the short-term fuel trims into long-term fuel trims, and I just want to drive the car from the tables so it's not affected by the trims and see what the tune is like. Then we have auxiliary air anticipation disabled, and desired air mass initialization switch also disabled. From my understanding, this will disable speed density table. Yes, this is a bit confusing because this car does not have a map sensor. It only has a map sensor, but it does have speed density tables. To see speed density tables, you can go into edit, calculate speed density, and you have tables like this. And then you'll find out there is actually 16 tables, and you'll be like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are there so many tables for this one car? This is ridiculous. There are 16 different tables because there are 16 different combinations of intake and exhaust cams. The map pressure is actually calculated by the PCM instead of being measured. To calculate it is using a quadratic formula with 3 parameters, and because there are 16 different tables, there is also 16 different parameters for each one of the mapped cam points. To tune this, you can't really find out what the tuning points are, but what you can do is you can data log your speed density, and once you data logged it and need to update it, then let's say we updated the table to something like this, then you click calculate coefficient, and that will update your parameters for the quadratic equation that is used to calculate those tables. Well, in my case, I disabled this completely, so I don't want to make any changes to it, but eventually there is a way to tune this if I start measuring my manifold absolute pressure. The electronic throttle body and the MRC I've left the same. For the variable valve cams, I've also left everything as stock. Here, this is where you can see your different cam profiles. So there they are. This is the combinations, and PCM can blend between different map points. It does not have to use one point. It can use 10 points at the same time at varying degrees of implementation. Then I've made changes to the fuel parameters. As you saw, these are new injector parameters here. There isn't much I changed about air oxygen sensors. Then I changed the power enrichment. The lower the number, the more rich it is. I've changed it from 0.82 up to 0.78. So it's going quite a bit richer once the car is at operating temperature. There are a bunch of other things highlighted in green, not because I actually changed those values, but just because the scale values have changed from going up to 100% load to going 180% load. So that's all it is. Next one is torque model. Not really sure what's the point of this, but there are torque models for how much torque the engine is supposed to be making, and if it's making less than that or more than that, it's gonna complain. I've just expanded the table to show higher values, higher load, expanded above 100%, kept the slopes the same, so the shape of the maps are all the same. Then let's take a look at transmission. Oh yes, I also raised these values here. Not sure what I'm doing. Just that's what I learned from that guy, Evans Performance Academy. I think he knows what he's talking about. He told me to do it, so that's what I did. Then also I changed my inferred fuel rail pressure. I've changed it to lower pressure, so the car will think that there is less fuel rail pressure, while in reality there's not less fuel rail pressure, but there is less pressure difference, as the manifold pressure is higher. So the pressure difference between the rail and the manifold is what's gonna compensate for it, hopefully. I don't know. Alright, and I think that's basically it. I haven't really changed much, and hopefully the car still drives fine. And let's see how it goes. Flashing the base forced induction to now. Half of the parameters are changed. Actually, sparks almost left unchanged. Completely disabled the speed density tables, so it's going to be driving off the mass airflow sensor. From my understanding, the speed density tables, what they do is they predict how much airflow sensor is going to measure before it actually measures, and that's why you have better drivability and throttle response. And now I don't have that. Well, the car starts, no problem. And now I'm gonna take it for a drive. Got home and actually got some good data logs this time. Well, the data logs that I did want to see is the fuel trim and see what kind of corrections I was getting in my injectors, or what kind of corrections would be like for the MAF, and they're good. There's like no corrections required. So yeah, that's well, and I was getting good data, so I was driving for a while, so there was good hit points, get some wide open throttle there, and never really got to higher PMs, but I think it's good for what it's at. Now I'm gonna download the other half of the tune, which will include the spark timing. It should not affect driving either, because the spark timing modifications that I did are for the higher engine load than 100%. So at the moment it's NA. There's no way for it to get higher load than 100%. So it will never go into the tables that I've modified. So that's fine. Just basically the tables have been expanded further, and also modified the torque tables to higher power limits, so that when I am boosted and I do have higher than 100% load in the engine, it will make more torque, and the engine is not gonna close the throttle on me when it sees that. But I don't expect there to be any driving problems. What I do want to do though is install oil catch can, because with the way how the intercooler is routed, just with the way the PCV is routed, at the moment I have no option other than to have an oil catch can and have it vent to atmosphere, as I do not want to pressurize my crankcase. So that's what I'm gonna install, and also gonna see how it drives NA with catch can just being vented to air. And what is gonna happen is it's actually gonna suck in extra air through the breather valve when its manifold is in vacuum. So I just want to see how that's gonna look like, because that's what it's gonna be in store for me once I go with intercooler route piping. So this is the oil catch can that I bought. It's just a cheap one from eBay. I think there's a whole bunch of them. They're quite popular right now. So why do I need one? Well, why do I say that I need one? Well, that's because see this pipe here, what connects to the intake manifold, or not the intake, to the intake runner. Anyway, I don't have that here, so I will not have this pipe connect to the intake right before the throttle body. why don't I have it, or why don't I just add it? So what will happen if I do have it added here? Then this pipe is intercooler charge pipe, so it will get pressurized with a turbo pressure. What's gonna happen then is that the turbo pressure will go through this hose and into the crankcase. So the crankcase will then come up and will go into the intake, and that's all fine, except under boost the crankcase will be pressurized, and that has a possibility of blowing out seals, so the engine might develop oil leaks. And yeah, so I don't know, I don't think there's really good reason to pressurize your crankcase. It's better to not pressurize it. So what happens if I just don't connect it? So if I don't have this pipe here, then what's gonna happen is there's a vacuum in here. It will pull the air through this hose and through the crankcase, and then around here it'll start sucking in air. And yeah, that's not a big problem, except that air is not measured. There's the MAP sensor is going to be over here measuring the air, and then there's also going to be air going to the intake, which is not measured, and then you'll have lean conditions. Is it bad? Maybe you can just tune it out and it's not going to be a problem at all. If you do that, then it should be all good. You probably should put a filter in there so it doesn't just breathe in dirty air. Then what happens under boost is that you have pressurized air in here. Pressurized air will go down here, and there is a check valve here. So pressurized air will not feed backwards into the crankcase. The crankcase will not get pressurized. When there is a blow-by and there's gases generated in there, while you drive it under boost, they will have no chance of getting sucked into the manifold, but they will have a way to leave your crankcase just because you have that port open. So that port will suck air in when you are under vacuum, and will blow by gases out when you're under boost. So happy if tune goes right. If tune doesn't go right and you can't seem to fix it, just having too many problems with it, you could also disconnect this pipe and cap this off. Cap this off so there's no unmetered air going to the intake, and just put a breather valve on here and put a breather filter on there, and now your crankcase is breathing in air through the one port and breathing out through two ports. That's also a solution that you could do. Alright, got the data logger going, and let's see. That's interesting. I expected it to show more of the air compensation. Maybe there's not that much air going through the breather valve. Oh, the airflow is still high. Yeah, my airflow should go down to about, I believe it should be like 3 grams per second once it settles down to the idle. Actually, I did raise my idle, so maybe it's a little bit higher. Okay, there it is. There's some corrections right there. There's a decent amount of vacuum, but I think that's less vacuum than before. No, I think that's normal. Yeah. Yeah, I think as the throttle body closes shut, yeah, under high vacuum there will be more corrections. Okay. Yep, that's what it looks like. let's go for the drive. Data login was a success. I got consistent data, got more than 40 hits on each one of the cells, and there's a good amount of cells there. I tried to do some watt pulls and maybe get some data on higher flows, but it just was not getting up there. There's the capabilities of this map are way beyond what I can probably do in here. Well, maybe, yeah. But anyway, this is good, and some of you might think I'm a complete genius for trying to do a wide open throttle pull in a car that is untuned with the link conditions like this. Well, two things. First, on wide open throttle, they will be like near atmosphere pressure in the manifold, so there will be no pressure difference, so there should be very little air being leaked. And two, the car is driving in a closed loop. That's what I'm collecting here. The car is always correcting air-fuel ratio. It knows what the air-fuel mixture is, and when it's off, and it's off by quite a bit sometimes, by 3, 4, 5, 6%, and that's when it's correcting for that, and it's constantly adding it. So it's not bad because it's correcting it pretty fast. So I'm never driving lean because the car always corrects for it. And yeah, I like this method of tuning. I used to think that you need to tune in an open loop, as it used to be like from all the other videos I watched. But after learning this from Evans Academy, it seems like a lot of things are tuned in a closed loop. It seems like almost nothing is tuned in an open loop, as you can use your closed loop and you can see what the correction needs to be based on a percent fuel trim, and you just use that percent to correct for it. So yeah, feels really nice to drive and with confidence, knowing that my car is always doing what it needs to be doing, even though the tune is off. Cool. At this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna update my MAF tune, and I'm gonna swap out the MAF tube for the new tube and plumb in all the intercooler, so all of the air will go through the turbos. But I think I'll still leave the wastegates open for now, and I'll just take it for a few more drives. And yeah, exciting times. We'll see how that goes. Well, this took a little bit longer than expected. but I should not have expected anything less from myself. With my level OCD, things take a lot longer than I always planned for. But I'm very happy with how things turned out. Look at all those clamps, so beautifully clamped, just looking so clean. I really want to start right now and see if it turbo flutters, but I also have been trying to track down an exhaust leak, which I don't know, probably coming from somewhere from here. So before I start the engine, I want to spray some soapy water on my turbos and see if I can see some bubbles, and then I'll rev up the engine and see if it flutters. Just sprayed a bunch of soapy water on the turbo where I expect possibly leaking, and gonna start it up and see if I see any bubbles. Well, it smells like an exhaust leak. I don't see an exhaust leak. Okay. Let's see if I can get some turbo flutters. Got data log started, and let's see if I can get some turbo flutters. No, no turbo flutters. Maybe my wastegate needs to be closed more tightly. Oh, that's unfortunate. Or maybe something's wrong with my turbos. Yeah. Well, for now I'll do some data logging. So I just drove it out of the parking lot. Car kind of sucks at idling. It's like it's all over the place. Well, it's not all over the place, but it's quite uneven. Not sure what's going on with my fuel trims. Maybe my map scaling is way off. For now, I've reset it back to what it was before and adjusted my torque management, as I see big difference between desired torque and requested torque or something like that. Anyway, let's give it another go. Well, this is bad. I think I hope I just put my car into limp mode, and I hope I can just restart it, and I hope it drives fine home, because it's driving really poor right now. After I did a pull, maybe it detected this detonation or something, but there's a wrench on the dash right now. And yeah, car drives very bad. Well, not very bad, but I don't know. I think it drives fine as long as I don't go like too much throttle. It just does not want to go into boost. When it goes into boost, it's starting to do weird things. And yeah, it's actually really easy not to go into boost, because it seems like the throttle plate just does not want to open far enough for the boost to build in a manifold. But yeah, hopefully I can restart the car and drive it home. Alright, the wrench is gone. I'm driving straight home. Alright, fellas, things are not well. I just drove the car home. There was a weird thing that happened. The stereo and the aftermarket gauges, they just like shut down. Well, at first I thought the whole car shut down. Then I realized it was only the stereo and the gauges completely went out, and the stereo rebooted itself. Yeah, it's a Chinese stereo. You can blame it on that, but I'm pretty sure that's not the problem. I think something related with the tune. I had a laptop with me. I have my laptop with me every time I drive now, and I started logging my voltage. There's two ways to monitor voltage, and I used both of them. And then I drove the car again, tried to replicate it. The gauges flickered, the stereo stopped playing, it did not reset. I pulled over and checked the logs, and I did not find the problem. I'm at this point where you just think, what is my time worth, and what are the chances that I'm gonna mess these things up far worse? What if I just pay money at this point? This is the point when you just start throwing money at things and thinking maybe the money will solve it. Because if I don't start throwing money at it now, maybe it's gonna cost me even more money if I fry something in the car, or if my tune is so bad it's actually gonna wreck something. And the car also drives pretty poorly. Unless driving really slow, it's really very jerky kind of driving. Gonna sleep on it. Maybe I'll have to take it to the tuners. There are actually a few dyno tuners around here. Not sure how long and how much it's gonna cost. That's where I'm at right now. And it's that time again when I need to cut the video edit so you won't know what I did. But there's no reason to rush the process. And I think we're making good progress here. Things fitted well, and things are sitting in there quite fine, almost like OEM. So quite happy with how things are mechanically. Just need to get the tune going.